For as long as I can remember, I have been surrounded by activists. As the youngest of three sisters, I watched as they grew into their own opinions, passions, and choices. Politics were there before I even knew what they were. Growing up, we had protest signs next to the laundry machine, next to where my sister would practice her own TED Talk. Conversations were always happening, and I knew what opinion I should have before forming it. Then, when I was 14, the 2024 election came into sight. For the first time, I was forming opinions. Not because I was told that they were right, but because I believed them. I decided to learn more about the campaigns. Suddenly, I started seeing politics and the government everywhere. Now I could do something. The election was coming and I could make a difference. If politics were influencing every part of my life, then how could I not do everything I could to achieve the outcome I wanted? And how could anyone think differently? Passion is polarizing. There's no question that our world is becoming increasingly divided, especially in the US. We are Americans, but even further, we are Democrats and Republicans. Pew Research Center found that more than 8 in 10 Americans say the following is a good description of politics. Democrats and Republicans are more focused on fighting than on solving problems. We're fighting, not talking, and so we're not coming to any solutions. But why can't we compromise? Why are politics so polarizing? The answer goes back to that moment of becoming conscious of the impact that politics have on your life. When I had come to this point where I started forming my own opinions, I started seeing politics and the government everywhere. Politics are the way that we access our government. And the government was the reason that my school was the way it was. It paved the sidewalks I walked on to that school. It was the reason I had running water in my house. It impacted everything I interacted with. This is why it is so easy to gain an us versus them mentality. If politics are impacting every part of your day and the lives of everyone you love, shouldn't you feel passionately about them? This drive to be involved and to speak up for what you want is natural, and it isn't the problem. The problem is that because we are so invested, it feels almost impossible to even talk to someone with the opposite idea, let alone agree with them. Yet, this feeling that partisanship has gone too far isn't partisan. Pew Research Center found further that more than 78% of Americans, not just Democrats and not just Republicans, say there's too little focus on important issues facing the country. We're fighting, but we're not really fighting for anything, because solution doesn't come from argument. It comes from discussion. This can feel almost impossible to get past, and so we develop coping strategies. But that's all that they are, ways to cope, designed to make us feel like we're making progress when really nothing is changing. The first of these strategies that I've come across is from the American Psychological Association and is called cognitive reappraisal. This strategy involves keeping yourself up to date on current news, but being able to reframe it to seem more positive. And although this may help in the short term, it does not solve the core of our issue. The next solution is the most common: acceptance. As kids, most of us are taught to be accepting of others. It doesn't matter if we enjoy different things because we are both human. Acceptance is a vital part of becoming an empathetic person, but although it may be a step, it does not solve our problem, because acceptance doesn't equal understanding. There's a lot that I can accept, but I cannot understand. But Americans have largely stopped here. We are stuck accepting that we disagree or even hate each other and hate each other's beliefs without trying to understand why we feel the way we do. To think about why understanding is so important, we can pull back from national politics and look at those at the local level. In local politics, we are commonly bipartisan. This is because we are impacted directly on a day-to-day basis by the same things. I think back to last year, when my town proposed putting a roundabout in a major intersection. This was a political decision. And yet, as I talked to my neighbors about it, I never thought about political affiliation because it wasn't relevant. A roundabout, or the lack of one, would influence a Democrat and a Republican exactly the same. This made it easy to understand others' beliefs because I was thinking about the issue, not if the person I was speaking to agreed with me on everything. In local politics, we are not nearly as polarized because we understand each other. I understand why someone who lives on one of the streets connected to the proposed roundabout might oppose it, because I've driven on their street my entire life. I understand why some people want to focus funding on sidewalks while others want to focus it on schools, because I talk to these people every day and their lives are intrinsically connected to mine. Through this collective, almost unintentional understanding, we're able to cross political boundaries, to do what is best for our communities, not our parties. This isn't as easy at the national level. It's not a given. A Democrat in Massachusetts doesn't drive on the same streets as a Republican in Utah. They don't have as much connecting them, or as much that they share. And without this shared ground, it's easier to be ignorant, to fight, or even hate blindly because someone votes blue or red. But understanding doesn't have to be an unintentional thing. Why can't we apply this same principle to national politics? A fundamental reason goes back to the fact that we are fighting, not talking. The way you approach a conversation is vital to making progress. I'm on my school's debate team, and oftentimes I find myself approaching a conversation more like a debate round than a discussion. I want my point to be the prevailing one, and I don't want any of their argument to be true. But this is the wrong approach. The purpose of a conversation isn't to win. And even if it was, the winner wouldn't be the one who stayed completely unmoved by the person they were speaking to. It would be won by gaining the most understanding of the other person's beliefs and why they hold them. As I started having political discussion, I noticed that pattern in myself, of trying to win. And I realized that winning was bringing me no closer to making an impact. This could only be changed by a conscious and constant effort to be different. I now go into conversation with one goal: to understand, not just accept what is being said to me. Changing your approach to conversation can feel small, but it could be the difference between a stagnant, divided government and a government that actually works for its people. Because we are the reason that our government is the way it is. My political beliefs are imperative to who I am, because they have proven to be a vital way of expressing my values. These values that go back to having two older sisters that advocate strongly for what they believe is right and who have taught me to do the same. But my beliefs can make no impact if I'm not willing to have real conversation. Our goal should be to learn from those we speak to, not to judge. Discussion is the only way for change. If we can't have conversation, then we can't have democracy. Thank you.